Hello, everybody, and welcome to a fantastic session with a star guest, Mr. Bill from Sales Captain, and myself, Frank Saunders from Salesforge, or a bunch of other forges. This is going to be a pretty much a masterclass on rolling out top clay workflows in going to 2026. So together with Bill, we do a ton of stuff on the clay front, but particularly Bill with a bunch of different customers, where Bill implements a lot of workflows right now. But before we're going to dive into that, we're going to do a bit of an intro. But guys, everybody who's tuning in right now, it would be good if you just kind of pop into the comments right now, in whether you're on LinkedIn tuning in right now on YouTube or on X, wherever it is that you're tuning in. Feel free just to pop in where you're from. What is it that you do? So, are you head of growth, or you're running an agency or a clay agency, whatever that is that you do? And maybe some of the top questions, if you have a question in mind for Bill and myself for this session. And then we're going to be covering all the questions at the end, because we do have quite a lot of things to cover with you guys. So yeah, Bill, let's proceed over to the I guess the next slide, where I can control as well myself. So over to you, Bill. Do intro yourself.
Damn, dude, that was quite an intro. Between the two of us, I think we have at least 20 plus years baking B2B sales and growth bacon. Yeah, I run Sales Captain. We're one of the top clay and go-to-market agencies. That's all I'm going to say for now. We have some super exciting content. I think part of the inspiration behind this is I get a lot of people asking me, what is outbound and go-to-market looking like in 2026? How's Clay involved in all of this, and what are the top things that businesses are doing? We just came back from San Francisco, where Clay hosted Sculpt, their biggest conference of the year. We also had HubSpot Inbound, a lot of things going on in that area. So we hopefully want to put some of these kind of best-in-class workflows together for you guys. There's more than 30 workflows that we're going to be showing today. So it's going to be a packed session. And the main kind of takeaway, we want it to be, what are the top things that you need to be implementing moving forward? Over to you, Mr. Frank. I added a little nice bacon there.
So yeah, just like any business is thinking about, hey, I want to have a lean and mean team. On the radar, you definitely have clay, and if you don't have a clay on your radar, I'm not sure what you have on your radar. But I think it becomes very frustrating, sort of trying to figure out what is it that you should start with. What are the top workflows? What will make a difference to me and my business, right? So maybe some of you guys have already started to use clay. Maybe you have been using a bunch of workflows, but there are particular workflows that are moving literally the needle. So it made sense that when I asked Bill nicely, "Hey, Bill, let's join forces and talk about the workflows that move the needle the most across your customer base and what I'm seeing as well." And then we can kind of whiz through a lot of cool workflows, guys. So and then feel free, as you're gonna see different workflows in front of you, just to ask a bunch of questions, and we're gonna keep those questions till the end, because we have a lot of content, guys, prepared for you. So we want to make sure we go through all the juicy bits that we have prepared for you. Otherwise, quicker intro on me. I've been in sales for over a decade. In my previous gig, I had a sales team of 50 people, and this is where I understood that scaling a company with more bodies is not really the right way to go about this. So today we're building what we call a Forge Stack, which connects essentially with Clay, where you can execute essentially all the stuff in Clay across email and LinkedIn, and do that at scale with unlimited mailboxes and unlimited LinkedIn senders. So that's all we're gonna say. Let's dive right in, Bill.
That's quite a hook. Yeah, so agenda for today, as Frank already shared, what are the top GTM workflows we need to be implementing? I think it comes with a good realization that a lot of the things that we have been doing in the past have changed quite a bit. I think we have also a few people in the audience that have to do with AI, whether they're building or optimizing or using it. And we can't help but think that AI and the way it has implemented itself and embedded itself in the go-to-market journey has actually changed things quite a bit. In fact, it takes the best companies nearly 5 years to recover their sales and marketing spending, which is quite horrible. And these are some of the top companies in the world. And this is a stat from Kyle Boyar. So the question is, why is this happening? Obviously, go-to-market channels have been saturated. We're seeing more and more AI content. Whether it's good or bad, that remains to be seen. But getting in front of people, getting attention has become more challenging as it's becoming easier to create content, whether that's SEO content, social media content. Vine's also doing a reboot. traditional B2B outreach is becoming more and more expensive, especially as we return to the office. I'm not going to talk about that. Frank, you have a huge team also part of it doing that, plus your AI agents. I'm also not going to talk about that. And it's becoming harder than ever to get an ROI and make sure that you're implementing what works. And then
I think just
suddenly,
one thing just to add here is just there's a lot more
Yeah.
competition as well, because folks are, it's easier to
Yeah.
build software. So you have more and more competitors popping up, doesn't matter in which
Exactly.
niche you're in. So that's not a huge problem that everybody's facing right now. So
Yeah, quite a big one. Yeah, obviously the channels are saturated because there's a lot of competition and everyone's trying to outbeat each other using AI in the marketing process. This is also what we're going to be doing, but we're going to be doing it in a kind of a smarter way. For me, in the B2B space, to give like proper context, everything changed in, I think, December 2023. And this was kind of like the beginning for the new version of what outbound and go-to-market looked like, with one particular tool that we're going to be focusing on today, which is Clay. It's quite interesting and quite important because of what Clay allows us to do. Obviously, it doesn't work by itself. It natively has more than 150 integrations, including with the entire Forge stack, which is quite cool, which allows us to do a lot of interesting things that would require human input in the backend. Pretty much, Clay acts as the kind of data processing warehouse for company data and people data. So anything that happens regarding a specific company or regarding people that work in specific companies, and this can be our competitors, can be our ICP, can be our ABM list, can be our prospects from our CRM, we can actually track what they're doing in real time from across the web, from a multitude of different signals, intent, data, and activities, part of which we can also custom build ourselves. By definition, because we're talking about how it influences things, it's driving the cost of doing targeted go-to-market and outreach flows at scale, while making sure that some workflows, like just having a team of BDRs using traditional tools like Zoom Info, becomes ineffective and old school. Clay, in the middle of all things, also has huge cost savings because you can experiment and go to market a lot faster, not having to buy access to every single tool that you need. You can test things out, and then once you identify what your tool stack looks like in terms of data providers, sending tools, inboxes, and etc., you can keep the ones that make sense for you, and you don't have to pay for everything else. This has also had a big impact in the go-to-market funnel, and I'll start going into the meat of the presentation. Pretty much, if you look at how a business can target people online and can generate prospects, interest, leads, sales, etc., it's being broken down into three kind of main categories, and I'll explain why it looks like a funnel in a sec. The first one, which is kind of like the grandpa in the category, the grandpa that has now become a little bit cooler, is outbound, which is now AI-led. It can scale really well. It can be hyper-personalized. It can include literally all the data that we can find for a prospect. We can put it inside of an email. Every email can be unique, and that unlocks a really large pool of use cases for outbound. And this is kind of like, by itself, is quite cool. And this is the first category of workflows we're going to be examining. This is the biggest category, obviously, by definition, because it allows us to reach anyone in any industry and add extra context, thus making the message, making the conversation more meaningful. But it's not the highest intent. Talking about intent, the second category is the category that includes any sort of intent data. And by intent data, I don't necessarily or strictly mean by companies hiring, or I use the specific intent data tool and it showed me that this company has interest, like Bombora keywords. Yes, it can still include that, but intent might be that, I joined a webinar talking about email deliverability, and I targeted all the people that attended the webinar with my email deliverability solution or software or whatever it is. So any way that we can find specific groups of people that are potentially more interested in what we have to sell simply because they belong to that audience, that to me is intent. There's obviously many different ways to go about finding it, but finding these small pockets that has to do a lot with creativity and how you think about targeting makes it so that no one else is targeting the exact same audience. For us, for example, intent is we attended a really big conference in September. We managed to scrape everyone in the platform. For that conference, we filtered out everyone who wasn't part of our ICP, and then we reached out to everyone else via email, LinkedIn, etc., etc. This is obviously a smaller segment. Like when we're talking about go to market, this is definitely a more specific segment because you have to filter out anyone who's in an industry that's not relevant to you and then keep the prospects that remain. And it's not the best for scaling things, but it's really good because it's the closest, kind of, or quite close to getting a conversion. And then we go to the third category, which is what we call inbound led outbound. Pretty much this is people who belong to your ICP most likely, are showing intent and have more or less interacted with your marketing. And the reason it's called inbound led outbound is these people have one way or another interacted with your website, with your social media, submitted a form, joined a webinar like the one we're hosting, and they're actively showing intent. They are problem aware, solution aware, and also brand aware. That they're literally the bottom of the funnel if you think about the traditional buyer's journey. They're also the smallest audience, right? Because they have to belong to all these categories, and they're also brand aware. But if we're not targeting them, we would be stupid, because obviously these are the people who are most ready to buy from the entire funnel. So that's how kind of the entire go-to-market funnel has shaped itself. And this is the lens under which we're going to examine all the types of campaigns that are available in these kind of three broad categories. And then we also have some extra bonuses. Agent Frank, any notes, comments?
No, I mean, it's very straightforward. I mean, we exactly applied this approach, what you're showing in front of you. We're not going to talk anything about what we do in Salesforce and the stuff that we do, but a lot of the stuff actually that Bill is going to showcase right now going forward. So I had a look at all his slides and everything that he wants to give us in terms of the bits. And a lot of the stuff actually we already have applied in Salesforce. So, I mean, it highly resonates. So as we're going to now progress, guys, into the next section. So please do drop any either comments that you may have or observations or questions that you may want to ask for me and Bill, because the goal is to tackle your questions at the end. So we assume if you don't have any questions, we're just moving on to the next section. So we're going to have a chat right now about the top workflows, right? That's the next part that we have.
Let's get started. 30 plus go-to-market workflows. The first category, I also gave a little bit of an intro, has to do with AI-led outbound. This is automating list building, automating enrichment, automating segmentation, pretty much the types of workflows that you would have a BDR do. This is exactly the types of workflows we're talking about. The benefit is you no longer need a BDR, or maybe you need an inbound BDR to handle the demand that's coming your way. And you need slightly different types of roles that are able to build this campaign, a strategist and someone who can execute on the data side of things. And the benefit is once you build these workflows once, they can actually scale to thousands, 10,000s, hundreds of thousands of prospects every single month. So the benefit is you build it once, and then it actually scales quite aggressively. The first one is obviously,
I just want to add is the reduce headcount. I think, generally how we look at the business or implementing tech stack is it allows you to reduce headcount in sales, and essentially the reps that you currently have on board just do significantly more output. So this is really one of the main things that we're going to be guys talking through. So essentially every single workflow that Bill's going to be covering, there's a X percentage headcount reduction there with every single workflow that you're implementing. So yeah, this is also how I would say times have just generally changed over the last 3 years. So
yeah, 100%. I wouldn't have said necessarily headcount reduction, but it's kind of implied here. Or a different way to put it is you're able to do more with less because you no longer need those people, so you can look at different ways of.
I guess a quick lens just on our own business. So when I was a VP sales and I had a sales team of 50 people, today I have like 5 or 6 reps. And so these 5 or 6 reps produce more output than my, 3 years ago, the 50 reps that I had.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, fewer humans can do significantly more output. And so essentially everything that we're going to be discussing here is some of the things you need to guys implement to actually see these sort of efficiency lifts. So, yeah.
A lot more damage. Cool. Yeah. So the first part is literally broad ICP outreach. Whether you use Google Maps, you use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you use data from StoreLeads, which has like the entire database of e-commerce stores out there by industry, by e-commerce type. You can actually get that list You can put it inside of Clay. The good thing is you can filter out those companies that don't belong to your ICP, and you can go really deep. One of the biggest benefits about Clay, I'm not going to keep repeating it, but it's quite important to kind of understand the concept, is we can think about Clay as a Google Sheet. Every different column is a different component. So you can have a Google Sheet or an Excel sheet with companies, a company list. You can have an Excel sheet with people from that company. So you have the companies. Within every column, you can have a different type of data, and it can also be coming from a different type of tool. So if you want to find email data, you can use a tool that provides you with email addresses, a tool that verifies email addresses, etc., etc. If you want to find out more about those companies, a really straightforward way to do it. Pretty much the way I think of it is like an actual BDR behind a laptop doing search on Google. You can use ClayGent, which is Clay's AI researcher, and you can actually prompt it to pretty much do whatever you like. Go to the company's website, check if they have a pricing page. If they have a pricing page, let me know what their average price is per package, or what are the names of the packages they have. And it can go quite granular. Like it can segment companies into different types of industries and sub-industries. Let you know, for example, if you're reaching out to local businesses, if it's a solo business or if it's part of a large multinational business. And all of that intel, you can actually either use it to filter out the companies that don't belong to your ICP, or use it in the next step where you're creating email and copies within Clay itself, using Claude, using OpenAI, using all the popular AI models to actually personalize each and every message. So that's kind of like the first workflow. It's kind of like the broadest use case. It's what people literally learned Clay, and the kind of the number one thing you should be doing, because it's really easy. The data is out there and you're able to test fast. Again, you build this row for 10, 50 prospects, you test it out, and then you can scale quite aggressively.
Yeah, my favorite thing I think about the is specifically about the personalization bit, because you can literally personalize anything you want. And I just kind of just mentioned one thing that I don't know, maybe is a bit more for me, sort of a bit of a pattern interrupt, where let's say in the PS line, you can just ask the prospect, let's say you can identify where they're based. So let's say Bill's right now in London, and we're just going to assume that Bill likes Greek restaurants as an example. So we're gonna just randomly go and find a top restaurant, a Greek restaurant in London, and in the PS line, we're gonna ask, hey, have you checked out this local, Greek restaurant? And what are your thoughts on that? Is it any good? And it's just not something that you would typically do within any form of automation software. But in Clay, that's something that you can do. It's just this little tiny thing that sort of humanizes the email a bit more. And so these are the things I really like, because it is a pattern interrupt to a typical sort of cold email that you would reach out. And it's not something that you're able to do anywhere else, really. So you need to orchestrate this sort of copy programmatically at scale in Clay.
Talking about PS lines or personalization for restaurants, a really good one that I came up with is PS, does most popular sports team in the city still suck this season? What do you think? Guaranteed to get a response, but it might not be the type of response you're looking for. But you're definitely going to get people to engage with you.
It's also about like, let's say, local, local monuments, whatever. Like you can ask, hey, I'm looking to visit your city at some point, next year. What's the best thing to see? Is this museum or whatever of interest? It's something that's specific to that geography, and it's easy to do. So yeah, we do see quite a high reply rates from doing these sort of little things really within the copy.
Yeah, and it kind of humanizes the entire approach using small bits. It doesn't necessarily, because there's all the noise about, hey, we're going to use someone's LinkedIn posts to optimize the message. Like, realistically speaking, only 5% of LinkedIn actually posts at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, to have meaningful data for every single prospect, it's not doable. So you need to find other ways, whether it's company data or macro trends in their industry, to capitalize on in order to have that kind of personalization. I mean, you can even, if you match their industry, and we're going to talk about use cases around that, you can even match specific case studies that your company has against their sub-ICP, sub-industry, and really hit them with like a specific pain point, or provide them with specific ideas. For example, let's say Salesforce works with enterprise businesses in the automotive space, and you have specific case studies, you have specific pain points that these types of companies typically address. And you can reach out to more companies and say, hey, these are some of the top things that we've seen, that we've implemented for companies in your space, like Toyota, Honda, et cetera, et cetera. Would you be interested in learning what we can do for you? And this is actually quite powerful, especially for service businesses like us, for example, marketing agencies, IT consultancies. Because if you're offering something that's a SaaS solution, it typically has a specific USP, it has a specific audience, you have your landing pages by audience, it's quite straightforward. When building go-to-market for agencies, for service businesses that are commoditized, because let's face it, service businesses become commoditized quite fast. One of the best ways to use this type of workflow is to actually show people what's possible. Instead of saying, I'm going to improve your marketing, I'm going to build you a better CRM, I'm going to improve your backend data workflows, whatever it is, show them actual bits and pieces that the industry is actually implemented right now, that you might have implemented or might be able to implement. And that will really nail the coffin, I guess, or nail the exercise. Yeah, that's the first one. Second one, target companies based on their ads messaging. This is actually quite interesting. Pretty much you can build a list of companies. They can be from a specific industry that you want to target. This is the case that it works best. Scrape the ads that they're running on LinkedIn, Google. You can also do that on Meta. It's not a big secret. There's open libraries, the Meta Ads library, Google, LinkedIn, etc. They publish all the ads for every company that's advertising on their platforms. And you can actually search those platforms either by keyword or by company name. So I can actually not only target based on the list of companies, I can also target based on the keyword. So I can type Clay, I can type Salesforce, I can type Lemlist, whatever keyword I want to target outbound, and actually find all the ads that are related to that keyword. Obviously, some ads are going to be from my competitors. Don't reach out to your competitors. It's poor taste. But you can easily put those companies inside of Clay, use ClayGent to identify the sub-industry, filter out your competitors, your existing clients, and then create relevant messaging. Bonus points if you use the message within the ad, whether you criticize the copy within the ad, whether you provide insights, whether you make a joke about it, to actually make the outreach a lot more relevant.
Mm. You mentioned here Chili Piper. Any particular reason why you use Chili Piper over like Calendly or something like that?
Not really. Chili Piper is quite cool when you're scaling. Like if you have like a big sales team, it actually works quite well for those use cases, but you can also use Calendly. So the tools are obviously indicative. The good thing about what we're doing is once you understand the strategy and how to do it, you don't have to be locked into a specific tool. I've just used some tools as examples, but you can substitute any tool with a relevant one that works.
No, I was just wondering, when you work with Nestle and other top brands, why Chili Pepper is on there. There's but sometimes reasons for that, right? So, but cool. Let's move on to the next one.
Nice. Reach out to conference speakers. This is something I requested our marketing team a while back because I love sharing knowledge and I love that. Both of my parents are primary school teachers, so it comes quite naturally. And one of the kind of goals that we had is how do we reach out to more conferences that are looking for speakers in the go-to-market sales and marketing space without having to hire a person to do that full time. So what we did in the back end, is we started with a conference list, and we ended up, building an entire workflow that automates all the research parts using Clay, and we're able to reach out to people based off of those signals.
Is that how you got into HubSpot Inbound yourself as a speaker?
That was a little bit more custom because we really wanted to attend that. But like smaller conferences, like for example, that's a good point actually, because we were in San Francisco for like an entire month. You were there too. And we wanted to make the most out of it. So, okay, we're attending Inbound, we're speaking there, we're hosting workshops at Sculpt. How can we maximize our time there? So one really easy thing you can do is you can have a Google search or a Luma search where you're actually scraping the web for relevant conferences or relevant, gigs, meetups, and then you reach out to them. Hasn't happened to me yet, but we do use it for ourselves quite a bit. Finding lookalike customers. Again, this rocks if you have product market fit, if you have clients, if you have specific case studies for specific industries, especially for marketing and service businesses, because you can reach out to them and say, hey, I know you're in the X, Y, and Z space. I actually have a client that we just implemented this for. Would you like to take a look? I'll give an example because I love that. There's one or two agencies right now that are building tools specifically for outbound and go-to-market agencies. So they'll reach out to us and say, hey, Bill, we're actually building tools for competitor A, B, and C. Would you like to check it out? I've actually, jumped on the call every single time because I want to know what's out there, what's feasible, because it resonates. So this is a really easy and straightforward way that you can do that. Build a list of your best customers, have the case studies on the content, import it into Clay, find lookalikes. You can use Ocean.io or Pandamans or Disco-like to find lookalike companies, or just use Clay natively, and then reach out to them pitching the exact case study that you've helped implement.
Yeah, the other reason why I do lookalikes is this is a little tip. So when my account execs would close a deal, I would immediately pull lookalikes, upon close one. That's just another kind of little workflow that works really well. And then I think I also use lookalike data specifically for customers in industries, for example, like crypto, for example. In crypto, it's very hard to find similar companies sometimes. So there are industries actually where it's very tough to find lookalikes or similar companies to the pool of customers that you're working with. So that's just kind of a few other bits here that I just want to mention. Right, let's move on.
Nice. Closed one and is another cool one. And the good thing is,
wheels, Bill, right? You want to find, extra 3 companies, and you can reach out to them saying, "Hey, we just, start doing business with this company." That's something my account execs are doing right now.
And it's quite nice because we're going to talk about it. You can use data from your CRM, maybe even get the call transcript, identify the top reasons why the deal was closed, and then actually pitch them that, hey, we just started working with X, Y, and Z because we're solving this, and that issue, and feed. Yeah. And that's how you personalize that. That's the true meaning of personalization. Prevent attendee outreach, scrape the event attendee list. We mentioned it, I think, again. You can use AP5, for example, which is a really straightforward way to do it. You can also use RPA solutions. Hell, you can even go to Upwork, hire someone for $50, give them like a specific conference. If a conference has an app, for example, a mobile app, you can actually scrape that app. You don't have to spend all your time learning RPA tools and R and JSON and Python. You can actually get someone to do it for $50, cheaper than paying for your monthly subscription of any kind of intent or data tool. You get the list, you classify people into ICP tiers, which is actually quite interesting. One of the things that we ended up doing there, and there's quite a few things that you can do. You can outreach and target them with like a broad event. For example, we're hosting a Click Club in London. Some of the attendees or some of the relevant companies, we'll invite them to the Click Club. But some specific ones that are on point with our ICP, we're handing them over to our BDR team to call them specifically, and or in parallel, we're not pitching them anything. We're just inviting them to a private dinner. So we're in real time segmenting our audience, and then we're treating the 80% of the audience one way, the 20% that's the more relevant audience in a different kind of way. And you can automate that. You can push data straight into your CRM and have your BDs, your AEs execute on that with tasks.
Yeah. All righty.
Oh, wow. Did we reach the end of AI Outbound? Damn.
Yes. We're moving fast. Just conscious of time, we have a lot still to cover. So let's dive in, I would say, probably to the next section. I know there's a lot of questions coming, guys, so feel free to continue popping them in chat. So yeah, let's go to the next section, intent signals.
Yeah. This is the middle of a funnel. Yeah, exactly. Because these are the less cookie cutter campaigns. Let's face it, like anyone can get an export of LinkedIn sales nav, specific industry, filter it out a little bit and reach out, right? Anyone can do that, or scrape Apollo and do the exact same thing. I'm not saying that you can't personalize and you can't make it meaningful. In fact, we went through quite a few use cases that's doable. But if you start from audiences that by definition have some sort of intent, then you get also better results because you're reaching out to a subset of the main ICP that you want to reach out to, and you're only reaching out to the people that actually care about what you have to offer. There's different ways that you can look at it. You can have your broad ICP and have broad outreach campaigns. And then maybe from that, you can segment any companies that you can find extra data from. You can segment them into different campaigns. That's like less generic and it's more personalized, and you can have like 3 or 4 or 5 different workflows or use cases. For example, company changed CMO recently, company started using different CRM, companies hiring for technology A, B, and C, company changed their website recently, etc., etc. So there's no kind of one way to approach intent signals or custom web targeting campaigns. Um, the basic concept is find a group of people that, by definition, by them belonging to that pool, that makes them more likely to buy. And again, there's no kind of one way to put it. You can use traditional intent signal tools, which everyone's most likely using, or you can use more custom approaches. The first one, and again, this is a really straightforward one, target companies who are hiring for specific roles. Find people who hire for roles relevant to your solution, to your services. You can detect that via Clay, or you can use a bunch of different tools from Lead Magic all the way to anything that's out there. Make sure you're targeting the right ICPs, filter out any ICP that's not relevant, and that's a must for intent workflows. Find the key contacts, usually the hiring manager that's responsible for that line specifically, whether it's marketing, sales, etc., product, customer support, and then add them to an outbound campaign. And a really straightforward kind of workflow.
It's something that we do as well. We were looking for, if you have at least 5 SDRs and you still keep hiring SDRs, we believe that's not the way forward. So we would reach out and we would say something like, "Hey, would you like to blend your sales team with AI agents?" As an example, So the idea is not to help them to hire these people, but actually consider an alternative path, because that's a bit of a pattern trap where we could just literally write an email, stop hiring, for example. Do consider, becoming leaner and meaner, and here is what I've got to offer. So like, just look at it from another angle. So a lot of, for example, Clay agencies that I know, they actually do use this to say, hey, maybe hiring more reps is not really the way forward. Have you considered to build out a proper, let's call it Clay infrastructure or Clay, system for yourself to actually make these reps significantly more productive? So that's just how I would use maybe this particular signal to, to ultimately say, hey, maybe stop hiring all these reps, right? So, and you can do that with different orgs, right? So, 5 people SDRs to 50 to 100, etc. So yeah.
Exactly. Really also similar use case to that is you can use the hiring intent as a signal for the company undergoing a specific type of change. For example, if they started hiring a certain type of developer, maybe you can identify that they're moving, let's say, from AWS to Azure or a different cloud, or they're changing their CRM, or they're looking to implement, if they're only hiring for marketing, for example, or if they start hiring for marketing roles, it might indicate, or start hiring in a specific region or geo, it might indicate they're looking to expand to that region. So based off of that, you can span like a number of different campaigns. If you just are just careful enough not to be like, oh yeah, if you're hiring for BDRs, let's pitch them as an agency to not hire any more BDRs. If they're hiring for X role, let's pitch them not to hire for that role anymore. Because I assume moving forward, companies that go about hiring will be quite intentional about it, because the plethora of what AI can allow you to do, AI agents included, is going to mean that we only hire when there's an actual, hopefully, we only hire when there's an actual need in the business to bring in a specific type of expertise. Another one is email event attendees from events that you're not hosting, asterisk. That's why there's intent in there. It's because these are relevant, for example, LinkedIn events or webinars that are taking place that you can access to the attendee list. Doesn't happen with all platforms, obviously, but it does happen, and you can actually scrape those people. There's tools that allow you to do that. You can obviously drop that list inside of Clay. Phantom Buster is a really cool tool that allows you to scrape. Classify people into tiers. Obviously, remove anyone that's like maybe an agency or someone implementing services or offering complementary or competitive solutions to yours, and then reach out to everyone else. This is also a really good campaign to run for hiring purposes, not sales necessarily, but anyone who attends a specific event, anyone who attends, today's event, we can assume they have a high interest in go-to-market. So if their title is relevant, to go-to-market, it might mean that they're actually a nice hire for you guys for Sales Captain, etc., because they care about spending 1 hour from their Tuesday listening to two hopefully smart people talking about interesting things.
Yeah, so exactly like you mentioned. So I would go after my competitors, or you could go after, for example, I'm hunting on LinkedIn. You could literally just search for these events. Like any person that does training on LinkedIn, essentially. So I'm selling a LinkedIn solution, a cool one. So I'm reaching out to all these event entities where they're learning how to do LinkedIn outreach. So this is how I'm looking, or what sort of things I'm trying to look for. And there's a lot of events on LinkedIn, so you could definitely find a ton of events where you can go after these events.
100%.
Just try not to be and say things like, "Hey, I saw that you attended this event." Like, don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing about this category of campaigns. You might be able to know. It goes back to my cookie kind of ages, where we would be able to know exactly where someone has come to from our website, etc., etc. The phrase and the image I have in my head is, you might be able to tell what kind of type and color of underwear your prospect is wearing. It doesn't mean you have to use it inside of the email.
I'm wondering what type of stuff you're wearing, Bill. But yeah,
really the most boring kind.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, so I'm gonna give you an example, maybe just to finish off this part. Is like, so let's say if I'm targeting webinar attendees where they're learning about LinkedIn outreach, the copy just reads, "Hey, Bill, I was just wondering whether you're looking to do any form of LinkedIn outreach, or whether you're doing LinkedIn outreach, question mark." And that's it. That's all you're going to have on LinkedIn. I'm not mentioning, the fact that they attended something. I'm not mentioning anything else.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get a yes from your prospect, or a no, as quickly as possible, right? So yeah.
Yeah, but because a lot of times they can forward that to the event organizer, and then the event organizer can come back and say, "Hey, Frank, like, stop it." And you wouldn't blame them. We've had that happen once years ago when we started doing this, and we said, "Oh, I saw you attended X, Y, and Z event." It's like, okay, cool, but maybe you can have a PS and say, "Hey, Frank, Bill, and da 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 are super. If you're interested in go to market, Frank, Bill, and someone else have really cool insights in go to market." And then the prospect might say, "Oh yeah, I actually attended a webinar. Huh? What a coincidence." Cool. Outreach to people who engage with posts related to specific keywords, and this is really straightforward. You can do that both on LinkedIn and X as the platforms for that. You can use a number of tools. Obviously, we have to give special shout to Trigify. There's also Timfluence that does the same thing. Pretty much, you define the keywords, quite similar to SEO. The keyword might be anything from like AI order taking to I don't know, facility management solutions. You find the posts that reference those keywords. Super important to make sure that the posts are meaningful, they have meaningful engagement. You scrape the people who commented and engaged with the post, and then you send a relevant LinkedIn message with unlimited LinkedIn seats. I assume you guys at the Fords are probably doing it quite heavily as well.
We have 30 plus profiles there spinning right now. But to give you an example how we do it is, so we're looking for anybody that mentions, "Hey, I'm building an AI sales agent in NA10, for example." It doesn't matter how you're building, right? That's one post kind of we're looking for. And then we're gonna go in and say, "Hey, have you tried an AI SDR?" For example, with the copy. Or the other thing that we would do is when somebody else does a lead magnet on AI agents or something like that. So the lead magnet has doesn't matter, hundreds maybe comments or thousands of comments. And yeah, instead of you doing that lead magnet, guys, you go and latch on the whole lead magnet and go and extract all the commenters and likers, etc. And then you reach out to them about that thing or that topic that the lead magnet was about, if you have a product naturally to sell, right? So yeah, just think of any posts that are naturally huge in terms of engagement, and do you have an angle there to actually go and reach out to these people. In a lot of cases, there won't be no angle, and if that's the case, then don't use it, right? So don't just randomly go and right. So yeah, just a quick tip there. It doesn't always apply. There's a bunch of industries where this is not a thing, but then there's a lot where this is a big thing. And it's a really good list to go after. And I can tell you guys, we see 20 to 50% reply rates on these lists right now.
And that's a good point to make. You have to be really conscious about the post that you end up targeting. Especially if someone's bad mouthing AI agents, like if you find a post that someone, shit posts about 11x, like probably don't engage with people who engaged. Or
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
do,
Don't do that.
make
Those
sure
ones.
not to mention the post. Like you can
Yes.
still sell them inboxes or outbound solutions, but like
Yeah.
maybe don't reference that. You
But you
don't
can
want to
filter
come
all of
lazy.
that in these tools like Teamfluence,
Yeah.
Trigify, other Jungler right now popped out. Like there's quite a few of them, but you could filter out the positive sentiment or negative sentiment in there. So yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Nice. Send gifts to new hires in target roles, and this is actually a nice use case. You can send them gifts. One of the campaigns that we run, we actually printed part of a deck, like 5 slides on the back of specific chocolates, and we actually shipped them 5 chocolates, so they would get the chocolates, different flavors, and on the back they would have like a deck with the evolution of go-to-market and kind of some of the hottest workflows for 2026, which is amazing because they get the gift and then maybe they'll check out your website, and we'll talk about it next, but it's really easy to actually identify if people have visited your website or your LinkedIn profile.
There's something also much, it doesn't have to be as expensive maybe as a chocolate box if somebody's like, no, I don't want to send chocolate boxes. But you can send, let's say in the UK, it's very common to send postcards. You can even just send a postcard. It will cost like £2 or something. There are essentially solutions out there that can send postcards at scale. So you could do something like that where, if you're getting a new job as a head of sales and you just congratulate, hey, congrats on becoming head of sales at this company, blah, blah. That's all it is. And this is definitely a pattern interrupt. I never got a postcard where congratulations, Frank, congrats on I mean, it's great. I'll be like, wow, this is so cool, right? You're definitely gonna remember it like 100x more than an email that's being fired off. So if you have big deal sizes, I'd recommend that you're looking to sort of give gift cards, postcards, etc. High deal sizes means I would say 20K and above in ACV. This is where you can think about things like these.
Yeah, 100%. And it's easy to automate and scale as well, even like semi-handwritten notes. Yeah. Funded startups outreach, quite obvious, definitely overused, but still it's something that might be useful. Bonus points if you don't reach out the exact same week that they announce the news, but maybe you postpone it. Similarly, also, unless there's a specific reason to mention the funding round, you can assume that another 1,000 people are blasting their inbox saying, congrats on the new round. So don't become noise.
My only recommendation here, Bill, is not to target the obvious people. Don't target the CEO, CFO, whatever, the C levels. Target people below, like heads off. They don't get bombed with these emails. So that's my only recommendation. Do not go after the creme de la creme. Go after this, what I call second-tier contacts. They are more likely to respond to you because they're not being targeted. And I think this is where people are making a huge mistake. People that are targeting at the company, trying to congratulate them, do go with the tier 2 or tier 3, depending on company size.
Nice point. Another obvious one, competitor followers outreach. You can, it's not a secret.
We do that. We offer that. It's a very good one.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone doesn't know how to implement it, DM me on LinkedIn and we'll build it for you for free. You can still do that, and there's an asterisk there. It's technically a little bit gray hat, and I'm sure that at some point LinkedIn is gonna ban the ability to do that. So you don't necessarily have to reach out to your competitors' company followers on LinkedIn, but you can still scrape the list, keep it in the back drawer. Maybe you don't use it immediately, but maybe there comes a point where you might reach out for product feedback, whatever it is. If you decide to use it, it's quite obvious. You can personalize based on their top pain points, the type of industry that they're in. Keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of employees of the company following the company page, including the C levels of the company. So you have to be really careful about filtering out people who are not relevant from the list.
So I do this literally every day. This list extraction generates 20 to 50% reply rates right now. This literally list. We extract every day, and with about 30 LinkedIn profiles right now under management and 500 mailboxes, with that sort of infrastructure. And so kind of few things here, guys. You should extract the followers of competitors where you have where you're winning typically the most. So look in your close won data and have a look against who are you winning. So we know that we win, for example, on LinkedIn front against tools that offer seat-based pricing, and we offer unlimited seats. So we know that we're going to win against what everybody nearly offers seat-based pricing. So we have good chances. But there's some competitors that are maybe have worse of a tool or worse support. So you can see some of the things maybe on G2 and other places where you can kind of correlate there. And the other my recommendation is to target, let's say in our case, we're integrated, let's say natively with a tool called SenseSpark, and it's a video tool. And a lot of SenseSpark users don't actually know that we're natively integrated. So what I would do is I would go and extract Bethany's followers. Bethany is the CEO of SenseSpark, and I would reach out to them and say, hey, we just recently, I was just wondering whether you use SenseSpark or something similar. And it's totally fine. I think, and then we just recently integrated with SenseSpark. I was just wondering whether you use these videos for your outreach, etc. And this is not a great example where it doesn't have to be a competitor. It could be adjacent player. And then the final thing is target community. So let's say in our case, there are communities like RevOps community. There's a bunch of essentially communities out there that also have created a LinkedIn page, and there's a bunch of people that sort of working there or that are followers of that. And these are also great audiences to go after. And yeah, these are the three audiences that work really, really well. But the reason why this is a fantastic audience is because they're typically problem and solution aware. You want that sort of an audience to target.
Exactly.
So it's one of what I call top 10 for sure in terms of generating a ton of bacon. So yeah, let's move on.
And I think it's a really obvious kind of tell with what's feasible right now. It's like if you can scrape every kind of data point that's out there, you don't have to focus, because I assume these lists are also not really big for you. Like the amount of change in someone's company followers is not huge. Maybe you get 50, 100 prospects a week. So we're talking about like 200 prospects a month, which in like traditional or typical outbound volume data is nothing. But because of the increased intent, you can actually do more with less.
But this strategy, just to find is the more competitors you have, the more you want to use this. So I have 100 plus competitors. This is why it's my mainstream outreach right now today. So yeah. All right.
100%. Yeah, I've mapped out a few of the tools because, again, as I mentioned, these are indicative, not a workflow, but just an FYI. These are some of the tools that you can use to target different types of intent data and do your scraping. Custom web data as well. You can, literally find really in-depth technographic data, lookalike company data, competitor followers, obviously ABM monitoring like custom lists, etc. The third category that we've already mentioned that we're going to be talking about is inbound-led outbound. And this is ideal if you're running marketing. Like if your company is established, if you've been running marketing for a while, if you have SEO going well for you, if you have people visiting the website, if you're hosting webinars, if you're doing really well on LinkedIn or on X, and you have people engaging with your content, with your website, with your forums, etc. This is where you make the most out of it. And it pretty much allows you to take those contacts, enrich them in real time, and then reach out or automate the outreach or hand it over to BDRs. This is a super small audience because we're talking about people who are problem aware, solution aware, and brand aware. They also know who you are, and they're probably the closest to making a buying decision. Unless it's your mom visiting your website, but don't target your mom. Yeah, that's it. It's the most important segment. It's the smallest, but it's also the most important segment. First workflow, super straightforward. Identify website visitors, de-anonymize them, segment by page of the website that they visited. Maybe you have specific types of solutions. Maybe you have pages based on the company size. Maybe you have more important pages like pricing, like book a demo, etc. Segment by page, segment by company type, of course, and reach out to the people who are relevant. Once again, don't mention you saw them on the website because you don't necessarily know who the exact individual was that visited. You just want to use that as a way to start the outreach. Most likely you'll find.
I just want to give a quick tip also for everybody as well here. Something that happened very recently to us. You can specifically set the page, let's say, to careers on your site, and you can identify people that want to essentially work at your company, right? And they haven't applied for a job. And then you essentially have a list of all people that have checked out our careers page. And I know who is potentially is looking for a job at the Forge. And then from that list, I can go on LinkedIn and actually do manual. We manually outreach, but we can see the whole list of everybody who goes on there. So that's just kind of kind of additional adjacent use case that works like really well, because I bet we all guys are hiring people as well, and on those pages you also want to have a separate section where you're tracking folks on there as well.
Nice, quite a nice one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. LinkedIn harvesting, obviously, again, we're talking about intent. So people who have engaged with your content, classify them against their ICP, find key contacts, reach out, maybe even find more people from the same company, DM them on LinkedIn, find their email addresses if you can, email them as well. Super straightforward. They know what you're talking about. You don't have to reference a specific post. Most likely they will. Engaging web form leads, people who submit web forms on your website. The good thing about it is, if you think about it right now, especially if you run a lot of mass marketing campaigns, you end up with a lot of leads that are coming in real time. Most likely 10 or 20% of those leads are super qualified, super to the point, and you want to reach out to them, but you don't necessarily know who they are, or you have to have someone manually do that. So using Clay, you can enrich those profiles in real time. Like literally, as soon as someone submits the form, you can know their company size, their industry, any kind of intent signals if they have any, and you can actually segment them and reach out in a really targeted way. An interesting example here is, I think Hayreach at some point mentioned that Lovable signed up to their platform twice, and they didn't realize that someone from a big company that's definitely an ICP fit for them had signed up, and they ended up missing the lead and having like 2 or 3 times churn. If you have a system like this in place, you can get ahead of things like that.
We also had Lovable sign. We didn't miss the lead. Just a fun fact, yeah. No, just wanted to add a little cherry on top, because also Lovable is also a customer of ours. Okay,
and you have some really interesting lead magnets on your website as well, might I add, that I was checking out a few days ago.
It's nothing to do with Clay. It's more to do with NA10 stuff, but you need to know how to use the power of Clay with power of NA10 and the power of the Forge to maximize output. Like in our case, we book over 600 demos on a monthly basis. About 70% of that comes from inbound, and then 30% comes from outbound. So inbound matters a lot. So that's why a lot of the stuff that you're talking here about, a lot of the stuff is powering our engine on inbound. So yeah, like you need to know how to kind of put these powerful, I guess, stacks together, right? So to drive the maximum outcome for your customers. Alrighty. What else we have?
Ebook downloaders, any kind of lead magnets, again, the exact same workflow. Let's not repeat ourselves twice. Book a demo call forms as well, like any type of forms, newsletter submissions and all that. You can actually do the same things. PLG, more specifically, people signing up to your product. You can actually even answer onboarding questions and classify them automatically. They don't have to respond. And you can engage additional users from their company, and you can do that really fast. Pricing page visitors, similarly, similar use case. These are people who have higher intent because they're actually looking for your pricing, looking at your pricing model. You can also enrich with the potential buying committee. So if you know what kind of users end up making the buying decision at the Forge for someone to buy one of the tools that you sell, you can actually add those to the mix and reach out to all of them. And you can do it in a multi-channel way.
Just want to double down. Cold calling is super important that you call the high intent leads. The way we sort of just do it slightly differently, we have the calling function on the site on the high intent pages. And some other pages we actually do auto dialing. We actually dial prospects live on the site. But yeah, like just generally like combining the ability to drive traffic and then enriching, but then knowing when to call. That's what I call the power combo. Yeah, like this is where you're definitely boosting conversion rates. So it's not something that we're covering in this section, but if somebody has any questions on how to do calling effectively, just ping me.
Nice. Clearing Gmail form submissions. This is another interesting one. Not everyone signs up with their work email, and you don't necessarily have to block people from signing up with non-work emails. But a really good alternative is you can use the Gmail address to find the LinkedIn profile and enrich that with a work email. And actually, and then you can have a separate flow where you're dumping out people who are like a Gmail and you can't find a match. And you can have a workflow where if it's a good fit, you can call them, email them, etc., etc. Getting meetings from your LinkedIn ads. This is a
Mhm.
really interesting workflow that we've been running and implementing, and it's actually doing quite well. Assuming you're running LinkedIn ads to a specific audience, you're already spending a lot of money. There's
Yeah.
people engaging with your ads, and that's a
Uh-huh.
really powerful signal. LinkedIn ads conversion is, as you know, hellishly low. One of the ways that you can enhance that is you can scrape people engaging, commenting,
Mhm.
liking, etc., and you can have your BDs call them. And that's like one of the best workflows that you can have. You can email them, of course, but like if someone's actively engaging from a really targeted list,
Yeah.
you want to reach out in a really personalized kind of way. And this boosts, again, the ROI from your marketing campaigns once again.
There are some tools that like Fibbler that helps with that also a fair bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether you
Fibbler,
use that.
Zen ABM. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Followers outreach. Find your followers on LinkedIn. It's a super easy export and reach
Yep.
out. I mean, if you're not sending out an offer to your entire audience, the relevant prospects once every quarter, like what are you doing? Especially if you have a large following on LinkedIn. Bonus points if you get your team to submit their LinkedIn followers as well, and then you reach out to everyone that's in your entire company's network.
Mhm.
Some first party signals, inbound led kind of signals. There's extra workflows as well in terms of being able to target people within your CRM that are showcasing kind of specific patterns. We'll get to that in a sec. You can monitor people that are already your customers, maybe past customers, maybe dormant leads, and reach out proactively. Also, maybe reach out to people based on the usage of your product and having different workflows. If they're checking out a specific functionality that's not available, you trigger a workflow and your BD team jumps on them and then makes that conversion. First bonus category, sales and ABM workflows. How can we make sure that our RevOps team and sales teams are dialed in and they're not, they're allowing our A team to be functional and not waste any time? How do we have clean data across the CRM? And how do we target hyper-specific audiences that are brand aware with intent? Pretty much ABM tool stack outbound. You have a list of specific prospects you want to target. You monitor that list, can be in your CRM. And once you detect the tool stack change, maybe they started using Mailforge or they started using HubSpot or Chili Piper, you reach out with a relevant message. Connecting with decision makers when someone books a meeting. This is something that we implemented that's actually quite powerful. With our deal sizes are typically 20, 30K and above. So whenever someone engages with us, it's typically not a single person that makes the buying decision. And especially for running outbound, we're already seeing that it touches on marketing, sales, RevOps, maybe the C-suite as well. So there's multiple people included in the buying decision. So being aware of that, someone books a meeting with us, we know what kind of job titles based on the company size and industry typically engage. We find them on LinkedIn, and then we engage with them through multiple platforms. We don't make it spammy. We just make it beneficial and then share a lot of value and content.
Here's
Maybe
a
invite
little
them to
cherry,
webinars.
cherry on top on this. So what I do with some inbound leads, so when an inbound lead signs up and then they didn't end up buying, that individual didn't end up buying my product, we find a lookalike contact within the existing company and we reach out to them with outbound saying, hey, it looks like your company may have been, looking into, say, sales stack, or procuring a new sales stack for the next year. Is that the case? So this is for me, not the buying committee, but this is for me, somebody showing intent in my product, one person from the company, could be an intern, could be whatever, but we're finding a lookalike contact on that and we're engaging back with that company with a very simple copy. So yeah, because you'll find
Nice.
the company is looking into your solution, right? Multiple people, not just one person necessarily,
Exactly.
right? So,
Another
awesome.
one is tracking product and service updates in your ABM list. So build a list of lookalike companies, detect their press releases or website tracking if they're updating their service, their offerings, their pricing pages, and then reach out with a super high intent kind of message. Resurrect lost deals as well. Have a list of lost deals. You have it in your CRM. Cross-check those lost deals with the new intent signals. And also you can actually combine that if you have the lost reasons and you can extract them either through emails or AI call recordings. You can keep the number one reason they turned or you lost the deal. And then once you have a product update, you can actually ping the product team can ping the go-to-market and sales team, and they can reach out to those people that churned or didn't close because of a specific feature that was missing. And that's kind of like the best use case. And I love it, like a big theme that's kind of coming up through this and it also came as we were looking into go-to-market workflows in general. It's like it's not a one big campaign that makes or breaks things. It's like a lot of small campaigns stacked on top of each other, starting from broad ICP outreach, then adding intent, and then adding inbound campaigns that allows you to really fine-tune your go-to-market. It's not like just one big campaign, one big bet that allows you to win. Another one, case studies personalization. We mentioned it as well. Build a list of companies you'd like to target, match case studies you have using AI, and then reach out with a relevant kind of offer. Customer expansion workflow, and this is an interesting one. If you have, I think you mentioned it to an extent, existing customers from one department using your platform or your tool, and you want to expand the use of that tool, you can find buyers in other departments. Super powerful. For example, if you have the RevOps team using Clay, you can get the marketing team using Clay by pitching them specific kind of solutions. Some additional workflows, because I'm a nice guy and I didn't want to create 20 more slides. You can automate CRM enrichment for every new contact or account that's added to your CRM. Super powerful. Will save your sales team a ton of time and also the worst kind of work. And it will streamline the data, making sure that everyone follows kind of like the same formatting, the same drop-down fields, whatever you're using. Instant SDR outreach when an ICP account views a pricing, product page, or case studies. Auto-routing leads to the right rep based on territory, experience, segment, etc. A lot of interesting things. I'm not going to go through them. Our second bonus is two marketing and SEO workflows that we've built as kind of like an inspiration for what's feasible, because it's not just the go-to-market and sales teams that can benefit from this. The first one is backlink outreach, and we've actually automated and scaled that at Sales Captain to a really big extent. We find competitor backlinks that we want to get using the SEMrush API or just a Google search through Clay. We identify who wrote the blog post we want to get a backlink from, and then we find their email address inside of Clay and reach out with a relevant message. It works on autopilot. Every single week, we get a list of like top 20 keywords and then links we want to be featured in, and we reach out. The good thing is we only have to spend like 5 minutes and the rest works on autopilot.
I get these emails myself every week.
And the last one is influencer outreach. Find relevant influencers, find their most relevant posts, reach out based on those posts, to do collabs, to be included, to have any sort of combined content or marketing campaign or promotion campaign that you want to run. A few more workflows. Again, I'm not going to go through them one by one, but it's like super interesting what you can do in terms of content generation, content creation, personalized case studies even for your outreach, or personalized ABM playbooks to be used in ABM campaigns for every individual company that you're reaching out to that you can auto-generate using AI. The results is, obviously marketing can own the go-to-market motion along with the sales team now. Clay becomes a really critical tool for data orchestration, because we've been talking about having input data inside of Clay from a multitude of different data sources. We do processing within Clay using the AI tools and also the data integrations that are available. And then we're sending out the data into multiple different locations, whether we're updating the CRM, doing outreach, informing our sales team or marketing team to reach out, informing our reps for specific activities taking place within our kind of buyer and user cycle. In terms of how to go about implementing all these kind of activities, a really nice kind of use case, and this is from Clay's kind of own recipes and materials, is starting with good data, CRM enrichment first, thumb sourcing, identify how many prospects you have in your niche that you can reach out to, then do account research and scoring for the ones you already have in your CRM, prioritize them on different campaigns, do AI outbound, broad ICP outreach, make sure you're hitting those broad segments. At the same time, leverage people who are already coming to you, inbound lead outbound, inbound lead enrichment, whether you reach out or not, and then layer that in within signals and intent, ABM campaigns, more go-to-market workflows like the ones that we've discussed. The structure of the team who's implementing these things, it's not just BDs, it's not just marketing. It takes strategic initiative, it takes go-to-market and technical skills, and it takes someone from sales at the end of the day to kind of bridge the loop and provide feedback from which campaigns are working, which campaigns are generating meaningful insights, as you said, which campaigns are leading to deals won. Whoever owns this function pretty much connects marketing and sales, because Clay, as someone internally mentioned, could be also called glue, because it kind of combines all the departments, data across all the functions, data from prospects in different stages of the buyer's journey, and puts them in one place. It allows you obviously to build better pipeline, lower your customer acquisition cost, have a leaner team implementing all these things. And you can see some of the costs, and these are from our own kind of internal estimates, traditional BDR outreach versus AI-led and go-to-market workflows. The big shift is obviously anyone can generate pipeline at a lower cost than ever before. And obviously, as a result, outbound is no longer BDR-led or necessarily mass spam, because even if it's at scale, it can still be personalized thanks to all the amazing tools and AI that we have available. The danger or opportunity, whichever way you look at it, is everyone out there is racing to implement these tools. And there's also companies that are like, oh, how do we get more leads? So there's definitely, we're seeing different tiers. Companies in the US are asking how to implement Clay, what are the workflows? If they have RevOps in-house, they're already owning or implementing these things. Companies in Europe, which is like the second kind of layer, are looking into, how do we get leads? And then companies in the rest of the world are still stuck in a dark place. Clay calls it GTM alpha. It's like the velocity at which lead generation sales growth is happening keeps increasing, simply because the tools allow us to go to market a lot more faster, a lot more leaner, without having to have an entire team, same as the traditional sales playbook used to be. That's pretty much it. We have the list of workflows. I'll keep the screenshot here. It's an entire list that anyone can get access to.
Really good. This was really good, Bill. I really enjoyed this, if I'm very honest. I had a glimpse on a few things before, but now with the whole thing. So guys, definitely take the QR code. You can get access to all the good stuff by Bill. I know we have a few questions on here, but we need to wrap, unfortunately. What Bill will do, right, Bill? You will be able to answer a few of the questions that we're going to have there at the end. Bill can be found naturally on LinkedIn, guys, for additional follow-up. Or if you're struggling to implement, Bill can implement anything for you, really. And that's really it. If you want to find me on LinkedIn, it's Frank Saunders, the guy with the bacon emoji. Let's bring home the bacon. I really appreciate your time, Bill. I appreciate everything that you've gone through. This was really, really solid. But unfortunately, we didn't have the time for the questions at the end. But Bill is always there. Bill will review every question. I will review every question, and we will follow up. I appreciate your time, Bill.
We'll make sure to follow up.
And we'll
Thank you, Frank. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Thank you, guys.